Iwai is the scary
I'm always just so worried about Haru coming up.
Dude, this is getting so draining.
Yeah, it's just over and over. We got it, and he just keeps going. I said before in the beginning of this, make it as long as you want to, as long as you saying what you need to say. But the problem is repetition. If you're saying the same things over and over and over again, that's the problem. When we talk about Hunter x Hunter, I try to, interject some new stuff, give some new scenarios where this could go. But he's just going, this thing bad. They didn't do it this way. It's not interesting. Memento saved everything. Let's go.
Iwai is the scary ex-Yakuza member that supplies you with weapons and armor. His story is all about the mutual beneficial relationship between you two. You do dirty jobs for him, and he gives you better guns along with modding them. As you do jobs for him, you learn about his involvement with the Yakuza, and an old friend of his who is still a high-ranking member, Suda. Suda has it out for Iwai and threatens him and his son multiple times and starts rumors that his guns are counterfeit. You learn about the deal that Suda made with the Hong Kong Mafia, paying them 100 million yen for guns, but then the Mafia took the money and ran. So Suda is having Iwai make all these guns for him instead to cover his ass. While the Yakuza story is happening, you also get to learn about Iwai's son, Karu. Iwai adopted Karu when he was abandoned as a baby, and they have a great relationship, but he doesn't know about his dad's Yakuza past, and he gave it up to provide a good life for him. The Mementos encounter in this confidant comes after a meeting you have with Iwai and Suda, where Iwai says he'll expose Suda's failed deal unless he backs off, but then Suda pulls a gun out and threatens to kill you, Iwai, and Karu unless Iwai provides him with the guns right away. After getting Suda's full name from Iwai, you go to Mementos and change his heart, and he reveals the fake deal is all that he has to keep him going in the Yakuza, and that he wants to make up with Iwai. While this S-Link follows the same pattern that all the others have with the forced Mementos trip during rank 8, this is the only time in the game that it feels like it's properly justified. In a lot of the other cases...
Whoa.
What the I'm not reading this.
If you want to have the momentous trips feel justified, then you need to show that the complacency, I don't know if is that the way it's spelled? Mm-hmm. It seems kind of weird. I'm not a good speller, but that just seems kind of weird. Incompetence of the authority / adults at large. First, so the Phantom Thieves taking the law into their own. Is there a period here anywhere? Thank you. There. Taking the law into their own hands is understandable because as it is, there is never a realistic attempt by anyone to go and try and stop the bad guys like Futaba's uncle. They sit there on their butts and you magically fix their lives for them when they could have in the first place.
Futaba's uncle probably would have won a court case.
Kawakami could not fix her own life.
Shogi player, sure.
Kid with the mom, no. She forced him into thinking that losing is bad and thus changed his whole mindset, making him a piece of shit. You can't change somebody's mindset like that. Kana, you're not changing that.
And again, this is the thing. You want this idealistic world of if you call the cops, everything's going to be solved. When the court system and the police do not work that way. There are too many times an investigator is sent out, finds nothing, and the abuse continues.
There was a kid, I think it was Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody along those sorts of lines.
Or John Wayne Gacy or something.
Yeah. He had a hole drilled in his head and was drunk, and he ran out of the house naked and was just like, help me. And then Jeffrey Dahmer came back like, he's just drunk, let me take him back.
And we had, it was like BDSM going wrong or something.
And he was talking directly to the cops, and he was like, all right, run along, you guys. And he ended up killed. It's not just cops solve things.
Alerting the authorities is not necessarily going to solve the issue. And the point of the Phantom Thieves is that there's so many injustices that nobody is doing anything about. Kamoshida, it was a rumor throughout the entire school and nobody, teachers and nothing, everybody was just like, nothing's happening here.
Because of what he is and what he brings to the school.
such as Shinya's mom, Hifumi's mom, and Mishima, there is no reason you couldn't talk to them normally in real life. In others, like
they don't know you. So, okay, here's the thing. Go to your friend. Go find somebody that has a problem. Somebody you barely know. This is just like the last time. Get them to open up to you, and then go, who's causing your problem? Oh, my mom. And then go talk to their mom. And see how you change things. What is this?
I don't... Boy, that's not interesting.
normally in real life. In others, like Futaba's uncle and the cult leader, it feels like
He's basically going, this game where a bunch of kids enter a phantom world to steal people's hearts is not realistic enough. It's not following real world logic.
They should just talk to people. They should just talk to molesters and pedophiles and Yakuza members.
Now, this is a difference for something like Batman that I rail against for not having real world logic, because most of the things that people like about him is that he is very real world-y. Like, a Batman could happen at any point in the real world. And he's just a human fighting gods. So you look at it and go, okay, so why don't you apply these real world logic things to him if the whole appeal to him is real world stuff? This is not real world stuff. There's a talking cat.
And even if it is, are we just meant to talk to Kamoshida? Are we meant to take away that whole thing, or are there certain people that we can talk to and certain people that we can't talk to?
and left to the authorities.
Oh my god, police.
Bruh, this did not come out at a good time.
It came out at the perfect time.
Bruh, 10 months before.
The perfect time.
In Iwai's case, you're going up against a high-ranking Yakuza member who has actively pulled a gun on you and made it explicitly clear he will murder you if he doesn't get his way. In this situation, it's reasonable to think that the only recourse you have is to make Suda's heart change using magic, since he
Or, don't do the thing he wants and let the other Yakuzas kill him.
That's an option. Or give him the guns and he won't kill you.
That's also an option.
matches you in the real world, and the consequences you face is death. After you finish your business in Mentos, Iwai tells you about how Suda called him to call the deal off, and it felt like he was talking to his old friend again. But his story doesn't quite end here. There's still some more drama to come. When you're hanging out with Iwai later and disassembling all the guns Suda made him make, he gets a call saying that his son has been kidnapped by another Yakuza member, and you go with him to meet the kidnapper. He wants to trade Iwai's son for the guns he made for Suda, and threatens to tell Karu about his past. But instead, Iwai reveals the truth first. Karu says he doesn't care since Iwai is still his dad. When the kidnapper threatens Karu with the knife again, Suda comes out of nowhere like a badass and pulls a gun out and tells him to let Karu go and leave with him. Iwai's story ends with you, him, and Karu.
Okay, so he comes out the shadows like a badass, but he instantly resolves the story, which is what you're so railing against the Phantom Thieves for doing. They have their whole exposition dump. There's a problem that's unsolvable, and then he just comes out of nowhere to resolve it. But now it's all good.
Because he likes it.
Thanking you for helping them rekindle their family's relationship and solving their Yakuza troubles. And of course, the expected reveal that he knows you're a Phantom Thief, but despite that, he'll still be on your side. It's hard to convey in this recap without dedicating a lot more time to it, but Iwai's story is one of the few that have meaningful 10 ranks with the Yakuza.
Hey, how about this? Why aren't we learning more about what happened to Shida and all that? Because now he doesn't have the gun, so what's going to happen to him? Oh, we don't care about what's happening to him anymore, huh? Not like Kana. We need more information there.
Hey,
but for this is fine.
That
We're
dude
done.
is a Yakuza member, so he definitely killed and murdered people. Why isn't he going to jail? Why can't we have a follow-up with him? That dude pulled a knife on his son. Are we going to get a follow-up to what Shida's doing to him? Did he just punish him? Did he hold his head underwater? Did he kill him? We need to know this.
and the personal stories being told at a good pace throughout the entire S-Link instead of having filler early and then exposition dump in the middle and then a dumb contrived reason to go to Mementos in the end. The story isn't ruined by Mementos and doesn't leave a million questions about the antagonist unanswered. He gets his closure with his son and moves on. This link really stands out among all the other bad to mediocre confidants. The biggest issue with the S-Link comes from the fact that it's gated behind rank 4 guts, which will take you a long time.
Okay. I'm gonna stop this real quick. Where is the style over substance?
That's a very good point.
Because the confidants is the substance of the series, and what is the style there that's going on?
I think it's just a catchy title that he just like. I need something to hook him other than 5 hour long.
But he could just go Persona 5, not as good as you think or something.
Yeah, he could have.
Because based on what your title is, I have to judge your video based on what the title is. If you go, why should you watch Hunter x Hunter, and then you go, you shouldn't, it sucks. And then it's just like, this sucks and blah, 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 blah. That's not what your title conveyed.
Yeah, I dig it.
Playthrough, and most players aren't going to get to see one of the best storylines in the game.
Most players aren't gonna be. What are you basing this on?
Where's the information? Where's the
Just
stats?
whatever.
Just your own mind.
Yep. Because it's difficult to do this thing. You need to get all the way up to charm number 5 in order to finish up Makoto's thing. I guess most people aren't going to be able to see that. Based on nothing.
I asked multiple people and none of them actually ever finished his rank in their first play.
Wow, what anecdotal evidence.
I asked most people and they did finish it. See how that works?
Who are these multiple people, and what is the number of multiple? 6 people is multiple people. So are you telling me the 2 million people that bought this game, based on the 6 people you asked, you're just going, most people didn't finish that game? Come on, dude. That's not how it works.
People can't get up to guts number 4 with almost unlimited stuff to do and a whole character just missing because you're not going to do Haru. That's time that's time that you can spend doing other things.
And most players aren't going to commit a second playthrough
Jesus
right away
Christ.
to an
Most
up to
players,
100-hour
most people,
game for
most,
maybe
most,
10 to
most.
15 hours of new content. Even following a guide in my second playthrough for this video, Guts was the last thing I max. It's like this was designed to be finished in New Game Plus, and that's a real shame because I think this is one of the best in the game.
Pause.
But
Mike got platinum his first go through with a guide.
Yeah, perfect.
So
guy.
you can do it. It doesn't matter when you do near the end. Oh, it is one of the last things that you do. Yeah, so what? You're still going to do it and you're still going to max it out. So it doesn't matter when you do it as long as you do it. And most people are or aren't. Doesn't matter.
Joker is in Smash, and because of that, he technically did provide a gun to Kirby, so when you think about it, he's actually a monster. While Mementos plays a
That's funny.
huge role in
I
hurting
laughed.
a lot of S-Links, that doesn't mean that the stories are better by default for not including it. Most of the main party confidants don't include Mementos at all, but they still have a lot of issues. There are 2 clear standouts that are handled well, but let's start by looking at the weak links. Ryuji...
My heart stopped with Haru. Okay, when are we stopping?
Dude, I don't know. Okay, how many more confidants do we have?
This is...
Because I legit just want to get through this.
I
just
do.
so we don't have to come back to it. We are rocking with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 more. We're looking at about 45 minutes more.
Dude, we've done an hour and a half in 4 hours.
This is very draining.
So we've got another 2 hours of doing this. How many did we do in this session?
We did Shinya 2, 4, 5.
We've done half of what we need to do double what we just did. So we have another 2 hours ahead of us.
And these are main character stuff. And the twins. And he hits Igor.
is the hot-headed best friend and the first person that becomes your ally. There's a lot to say about Ryuji. Most of it's not good. He's fairly consistent with how he acts in the whole game, but that's not necessarily a good thing, and can be very confusing at times. Let's start by looking at his S-Link, which is all about his love of running, the school track team, and how it got ruined. The first thing that happens in his story is the confrontation with the former track team, which we learn that he somehow betrayed them, broke up the team, and has become ostracized. We get our first moment of contradictory information when Ryuji starts thinking about that maybe it really is his fault that the track team disbanded, since he was in a confrontation with Kamoshida, the school's evil PE teacher and the first main villain of the game.
Pause.
Except by this
Yeah, maybe it is his fault that he holed up and attacked him like Kamoshida knew that he would, and broke up the track. Yes, it's understandable that he blames himself. He took away not only his chance for the future, but multiple other people's chance for a future, and he f***ed up his leg in the process. Of course he's gonna have doubts like that.
By this point, we already have seen Kamoshida admit to taunting Ryuji in order to break his legs, and was just using that as a convenient excuse to get rid of the track team he already planned on getting rid of.
Pause. So what he's thinking, what if I didn't do that? What if I just sucked it up like everybody else did? But I had to be so hot-headed. The man can't have doubts? How is this contradictory?
He knows this by now, and yet he still thinks this is somehow...
No, he literally just said the whole track team was putting up with Kamoshida's stuff, and he went against it, and it stood up for everybody. And maybe they're right about that. Maybe if he had just told the line like the rest of them, everybody's dreams wouldn't have gotten shattered.
And it said that Kamoshida is going to get rid of the track team. How is he going to do it? You can't just disband it and just go, why? For no reason. You would have to have a reason, and he had that reason right there.
his fault. This is followed up by finding out that the track team is going to be reinstated by Kamoshida's right-hand man at the gym from a former Shujin student, which makes me wonder...
That was horribly audio edited. It's going to be reinstated at the gym. My follow! Dude.
It was bad.
Horrible.
I agree with that one. I'm turning on this dude.
by Kamoshida's right-hand man at the gym from a former Shujin student, which makes me wonder how in the world did Ryuji not find out about this news before someone who doesn't even attend the school anymore.
Pause.
Because he's not part of the track team.
Because those people don't like him.
They're not going to tell him. And unless it's known around the school, he's not going to find out. And as far as we know, Ryuji is not popular.
And also, he's probably really focused on this Phantom Thieves stuff, researching people on who to get next, meetings, all that stuff. And he's not paying attention in school.
So why would he be paying attention to the stuff in school?
Because they graduated. Either way, Ryuji wants to look into things because he doesn't exactly trust the new coach, Yamauchi. In rank 6, we see the track team turn on one of their own members, and Ryuji steps in to defend him. After the confrontation, Ryuji talks about how he's moved past all the issues with his family and Kamoshida, and doesn't resent or blame anyone who might have helped him before. He also puts a lot of emphasis on saying that he is now free. This is supposed to be an important moment for this character, but as we see later, this is forgotten and is constantly undermined. It's as if the Ryuji
Pause.
that's...
You mean that stuff in the confidant that you may or may not have done does not transfer over fully to the actual story?
I think this happened in Persona 3 and 4 as well.
It definitely did. At the end of Kanji's socially, he goes, I don't care who I like. It's all that matters is who I am. It doesn't matter about all this feminine and masculine stuff. It's all that matters is what I am. But he still has those, whoa, I'm not gay sort of moments in the game.
And that's kind of gay stuff.
That this is a completely different person than the one we see in the main story. The next two ranks involve you finding out about the new track coach.
Pause. That scene right there was directly to the main villain. The dude that ruined his friend who is 5 feet behind him's life. So of course he's gonna antagonize him. This is a horrible example. And he shows right here, you're the a-hole we met in the hotel before any elevators. They were waiting for the elevators. This dude pushed ahead like, I'm an adult, I'm important, get behind me. And he's very anti-adult. So maybe he's gonna act like this to this piece of crap who's treating him like a piece of crap. What are you talking about? This is a horrible video. This dude is making horrible points. This is real bad. Like, really bad.
Oh boy. This is horrible.
The next two ranks involve you finding out about the new track coach's evil intentions, following him to a restaurant and recording him admitting to setting up the students to fight against each other, manipulating one of the students, promising him to be the leader of the new track team because his mom is on the PTA, but then plans to break his legs and get rid of him when he doesn't need him anymore. And then you show this to the track team members, culminating into a touching scene where they all punch Ryuji in the face to reconcile their differences, make up, and promise to reinstate the track team properly. Ryuji even says he can't turn his back on the track team, and in a later scene in Yusuke's S-Link, he gives a whole speech about how even though track is a solo sport, he loved his teammates and did everything to help them out since they encouraged each other to perform at their best. Then in your next meeting comes the incomprehensible reveal that while the track team is going to be back together without Yamauchi, when Ryuji is asked to rejoin this team, he turns them down. He then gives a whole speech about how he used to blame everyone else for his issues in his life, but that he now realizes that by being himself, he'll always have a place to fit in, and feels at home with the Phantom Thieves. The thing is, nothing in his speech indicates that he shouldn't join the track team. If anything,
he can't run. He's more busy with the Phantom Thieves. He still feels guilty about disbanding it in the first place. He's supposed to automatically join just because they reinstated? Dude literally can't.
the idea that he's done holding grudges and feels free now means that he should be even more excited to have a fresh start with the track team he loved so much and couldn't abandon even when everybody was against him and he had no...
This is shown later on in the main story when they're all running and he's falling behind. He can't run.
That's number one. Free, not free, guilt, whatever. He can't.
was against him and he had no obligation to help these people at all.
He did have an obligation to help them. He's the one that put them in their position in the first place.
Running, since the entire S-Link is about getting back into running shape by practicing and going to the gym with you, and is shown multiple times in the main story to be interested in it. Whenever someone needs to move fast in a palace, Ryuji volunteers and gets the job done. And when the team is laying low close to the end of the game...
Oh, wait. It sounds like... I don't know. Okay.
Team is laying low close to the end of the game, he goes to look at running shoes and is even shown to be acquainted with the store owners. The craziest thing with...
Of course, he used to be a runner.
Yes. He wants to. He wants to go back, but he can't.
Not joining the track team doesn't even come from the moment itself, but rather as you unlock and learn about the other characters in your party. Everyone else in your party finds time to do lots of things on top of being a phantom thief, but Ryuji has nothing. Makoto is the student council president and studies to get high marks, and even has time to make a new friend, and has an entire career of modeling and visits her friend in the hospital.
Pause. Her name is An.
Almost every waking moment trying to improve his art by painting and finding new inspiration. Meanwhile, Ryuji hates studying, doesn't have a job, and is never shown to have any friends outside of the Phantom Thieves and Mishima, and doesn't have any hobbies outside of his interest in running. He's said to play
He plays games. You said that he goes to the movies. He plays games with the main character.
Games instead of studying a couple times, but taking all this information into account, it doesn't make sense that he would choose to not join the team. It makes you wonder what he could possibly be doing in his off time, since he's never shown to have a life outside of the Phantom Thieves. Once you're done with his confidant, it's hard to think of him as a real character, when all he does is talk loudly about wanting to be rich and famous, and acts excessively angry about every new target the Phantom Thieves choose, despite saying that he does not blame others and feels completely free. The problem isn't
he doesn't blame others for his failings. That doesn't mean he still doesn't blame others for the problems of society, i.e. adults.
This person is blackmailing us for $30,000 in a month, or else we'll all get kicked out of school and sent to jail or whatever. This dude is forcing this girl to marry a dude that she does not like. Oh, there's a bunch of things to get angry about. It's justified.
Ryuji himself or his lack of direction, but with the game not doing anything with the character. The game sets up the idea of Ryuji being someone who is unfocused and squanders his potential, and being someone with a few interests but is very passionate about them. But it never follows through on either of them, leaving him in this weird void where he doesn't follow any path presented to him, which is uncharacteristic considering his rash nature and tendency to move before thinking. He's a character who is designed to fit into your party specifically and not the game's world at large. And in turn, Ryuji comes off as a character that feels like he doesn't exist outside of hanging out with him. Makoto is the smart one of the group who does.
I love Makoto.
Makoto's great.
What
I'm still hung up on the Ryuji thing.
And I don't even like Ryuji.
I like Ryuji. I liked him. I liked him more after Persona 5. He has 2 great songs in the dancing game.
Oh my Jesus!
It's fun. And they're great. But yeah, just because he doesn't have any outward hobbies doesn't mean that he doesn't exist outside of it.
All the thinking for the Phantom Thieves once she joins up. After forcefully inserting herself into the party, Makoto quickly becomes the only voice that matters in the story, creating not only all of your plans, but also takes charge in every situation where it's required. She effectively becomes the leader of the Phantom Thieves no matter how much the game tries to tell you that you, Joker, the player, is still the main character. For example, right after she joins the team, she questions whether they were tracked by the Metaverse app, and everyone is surprised by this, as if none of them ever even thought that this could be a possibility.
They didn't, cause Makoto real smart.
She's smart.
Makoto real smart, and An's pretty smart. Joker straight, but you're Joker. Yosuke's just kind of in his own world.
I love him.
And Ryuji is not smart.
Morgana clears up that the app is magical and they probably don't need to worry about being tracked, but not before Yusuke and Ryuji marvel at how smart Makoto is. It doesn't even matter that the issue Makoto brings up isn't real, because the entire point of this scene is
They're being tracked somehow. Or they may in the future get tracked. Hey, could it be through the Metaverse app? Oh, wow, we never even thought about that. Well, that's not an issue. It's not a problem, that's actually a real problem, so it don't matter that she brought it up. It's something to think about. Because if they didn't, you would go, why didn't they bring up that possibly they could have been tracked? You want everything and nothing.
to show that right from the second she's introduced, she's going to be the new leader. When every other character becomes a Phantom Thief and receives the app, they never ask a single question about it, not even to wonder where it came from. Makoto's the only one who can do that, so he can be shown how smart she is. Then, to top it all off, when you first go into the metaverse with her, she asks what your strategy is when you infiltrate palaces. And when it's revealed that you just wing it based on information that
Yes, you're a bunch of 15, 16, and 17-year-old kids in a magic cat world through your phone. Stealing people's hearts. You don't have a strategy?
Of course not. We need to get to the treasure and get it. That's the strategy.
Anna shovels into your fucking mouth because all that character can do is regurgitate information already told to you. Makoto says that she'll be useful in that her role is now to be the brains of the operation, and that she will analyze Mona's information and give out orders, which no one has any objection to. Now, since Makoto has already been established as the smart one, this might seem sensible, but think about these statements for a second. Being the brain that controls the entire body, analyzes all the available information, and then gives orders to their subordinates. That sounds almost like a role of a leader, doesn't it?
Look at me, sure.
Pause. Who cares if she's the leader or not?
Who cares if you're the leader or
Who
not?
cares? She is, she isn't. Is this a problem with the game? Is this a problem with her character? Is this a problem with Joker? If so, how?
Hey, you know a lot of leaders have something called strategists that dole out battle plans and give orders.
Shika's the smartest in the village. Is he the Hokage? No. Should he be the Hokage? Probably. But he ain't.
But he gives out a lot of orders and does a lot of their strategies.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Of course, even though Makoto is explicitly declaring herself as the leader, after joining literally one day before this, Joker says nothing and the game continues, and everyone still acts like you're the leader and the Phantom Thieves would be completely incompetent and unable to do anything without you.
Pause.
Based on what? Based on what? If Joker's not here, we're all just gonna fall in part? Who says this? Who thinks this?
Joker is also the first person to get the Metaverse app. He is the strongest, canonically. He's special. So, of course, he's going to be the leader, even if it's just in name only. How is this a negative that somebody else is perceived to be the leader? Naruto is the exact same way. 100% where she just goes, she and the main character walk outside and goes, we need to figure out who is the culprit. It's just them two. Dude, it's again, Persona 4 stuff.
A lot of issues that the dynamic of the Phantom Thieves have, but we'll talk more about that when we're discussing the main story later in the video.
Please
For now,
do.
let's look at how her character is expanded by her confidant, which is all about her gullible New Valley girlfriend. The first time you meet Makoto, it seems like her story is going to be about her learning to let go of the rules and getting more in touch with normal students who don't spend every waking moment studying. However, this idea is swiftly dropped in favor of helping her deal with the issue of students being spotted in the red light district, because of course this responsibility falls on...
Hey, it's my turn. That's Animal Crossing.
Boy, I would not have known.
I only know because that's Isabel's ending. So I knew I was just like, Isabel, and then she's waving. She turns to the camera and gives a thumbs up.
Is that what she does?
In her own way. She doesn't have thumbs, but she has the gesture of the thumbs up. I gotta do something with this video. I'm melting here.
Council president for some stupid fucking reason. You accompany her to the red light
Go back. I need to hear all of this.
red light district, because of course this responsibility falls onto the student council president for some stupid fucking reason.
Pause. She wants to protect students. She wants to make sure that her school, if she's the student council president and all the grades are the lowest in history, they would look at her and going, why aren't you counseling and helping these students? And she's a very helpful this isn't for no reason.
He's basically going, hey, why is Superman stopping a bank robber instead of letting the police do it?
For no reason. What do you mean for no reason?
You accompany her to the red light district, and both of you see a student walk into a shady after-school salon. Later, the two of you have a meeting with this student at the school. The girl in question, Aiko, explains that she has a good life and is only working there for some extra money, and that it's not a shady place. Despite being a polar opposite to Makoto, the two of them bond over a childhood mascot that Makoto happens to have on her pencil case, and in the end exchange phone numbers. The next couple times you meet up with Makoto, you learn about how she's uncertain of her future, since her sister has a great expectation of her, but she's not sure if going to the top university is the path she wants to go down, and that she wanted to be a police officer like her dad when she was a kid. We also learn that Aiko is now dating a guy from a host club, and that Makoto thinks he's suspicious and wants her help to find proof about him since Aiko isn't listening to her. A double date is set up for the four of you, and on this date, Makoto takes the opportunity of Aiko going to the bathroom to grill her boyfriend Tsukasa, but he dodges every question and ends up asking Makoto.
I love how he did not mention that you need Charm 5 in order to get here. Max Charm.
Maximum charm.
But Iwa, that's a problem.
Her number before leaving. At the end of the date, Makoto says she still has a hunch of him being shady, and that her dad always taught her to trust her hunches. Rank 7's weird, because at first it seems like it's going to be about Tsukasa, with Makoto telling you how he's been texting her a lot, and she knows the strategies that these people use to turn girls into their slaves. But out of nowhere, it takes a left turn, and Makoto instead talks to you for minutes on end, going into detail about her dad for seemingly no reason. She tells you about how he was assassinated, hit by a truck during an investigation of a gang, how her sister's crushed by all the family expectations now falling on her and resents her dad because of it, why her life is so tough without her father, and that she still looks up to him now since he died doing what he thought was right, and that her father once told her to choose.
Okay, so it's no longer for no reason. Her father died showing her to do what you think is right, and she thinks what she's doing right now is right. So if she's wavering in her conviction, she can turn to what her father did and go, this is why I'm doing the things I'm doing, because my father showed me to do this thing.
Well, that's a good point.
your own path, and that choosing how you want to live is an extremely important thing. Before leaving, she switches back to talking about Aiko again and says that she wants to marry Tsukasa, and Makoto's going to continue to need help from you. This entire interaction feels really forced? Sure, they needed to expose Makoto's backstory to the player somehow, but sandwiching it between two random pieces of information about Aiko was really out of place. This was absolutely not the right time to do this, at least not to this extent. It's a really video gamey sequence, where because you're the main character, it's taken for granted that every other character in the game has no reservations about you, and everything in their life exists only to be expositorily vomited at the player. At most...
Pause. So, it's slow... and we get exposit.
It's slow, it's word vomit, it's too forced, it's not organic enough, it's too organic.
Dude, legit, what do you want?
Orally vomited at the player. At most, Joker and Makoto have only known each other for a few months. Outside of raiding palaces as a group, you've hung out with her 6 times alone.
6 times alone, yes, you're going out of your way to help her out with some bit of a girl that you don't know nor like with her problem. You're showing yourself to be a nice person, so of course she's gonna open up to you.
You've reached the point where the developers go, okay, that's enough time invested, time to learn about her backstory. And then Makoto just says her entire life story at you for no reason.
Pause, no, she speaks on her father, not her entire life story.
Ties into the topic you were just talking about with Aiko and doesn't feel appropriate at all.
Barely does. If it barely does, that means it still does, which means it's not side stuff.
It's the most ham-fisted issue that tons of video games, not even just Persona 5, have. After an arbitrary length of time being with somebody, they decide, you have now reached my checklist required amount of days to hang out with me. I'm going to dump all of my emotional baggage onto you, whether you like it or not.
Hey, talk to people a couple of times. They're gonna open up to you. Are you? It's a heightened sort of thing, so of course they're gonna spill everything. But we don't have 15 social links to go through this.
One of my best friends right now. The first time we hung out, we went to a local fighting game tournament. She drove me there. She drove me back home. We basically just talked about fighting games and stuff. By the, I'd say, 8th or 9th time, we were talking a lot more about personal stuff. Of course, she asked me about, we asked each other about, you know, do you have any brothers or sisters or blah, blah, blah. But we were talking a lot more about personal stuff, hang-ups, bad things that have happened, blah, blah, blah. I told her a story that legit only 4 people in the world know. And I think that was like my 11th time hanging out with her. Legit. So you're not just gonna,
it's ridiculous. I don't know what he wants. At what point can people start talking to you about these things?
And it feels organic and not video gamey.
Because we got to do a lot of stuff in 10 times that we meet these people. Could it be done a little bit better? Absolutely. But
Absolutely.
You're just going, oh, she's explained her father and her reason for trying to help this person. It's ham-fisted.
I feel like this should have had a stronger build-up or some kind of warning or hesitation. It's a jarring...
Hesitation in what way? When she goes, my father, and then has the ellipses dots because she hesitates and then goes into it?
Hesitation as in there's 6 times that you hang out with her before she starts talking about her father?
Sequence, and one of the most obvious problems with every confidant being locked to 10 ranks no matter what. I can't help but feel like Makoto was designed with...
like in other Persona games.
First, but then when her S-Link had so much time devoted to Aiko's story, the developers realized at some point they had to fit all of it into the 10 ranks as well. So they decided they had to dump it all into the rank 7 so they could use the last 3 ranks to finish up Aiko's journey. What's even weirder is that the game does drop tidbits of information about Makoto's dad in the first 6 ranks. And
So isn't that build up?
What does he want?
Even mentions how she feels smothered by expectations placed on her by her sister, which does tie into aspects from her arc in the main story, which I think at times had well implementation of these elements without it feeling overbearing or completely rushed out of nowhere. It's not even played up like this is something that Makoto has been holding back and looking for someone to tell her secret to. She never loses her composure at any point during or after her exposition dump.
But what about
Pause.
before?
She's closing her eyes, not looking at the character. It seems like a lack of composure there. Her arms are folded. She seems very guarded. That's body language stuff right there, homie.
Gall to end this conversation with having her tell you she's never talked about this with anyone else. So you
Pause.
could feel...
And as you can see, eyes open looking at character. Arms no longer folded, opened up.
Body language.
Body language.
So you could feel extra super
It's a
special.
painful memory. Close his eyes. No, and she's not affected.
Oh yeah, she shows no affection of this.
Dude,
Before or
it's a cutout with lips moving and it's I'm almost done with this video. I don't care anymore.
You always said you wish we could get a gong, but not in this way.
Man. It's insanity.
I both do want to finish
Oh,
the
yeah, no.
confidants,
No.
and both don't
Yeah,
want to finish it. I mean, we're absolutely gonna finish it.
Yeah, if I could just press a button and gain all the knowledge that he's going to say in these next
35 minutes.
I would do that. But I can't. I gotta hear this crap.
Extra super special because you're the main character after all, and Makoto is your waifu. I even like Makoto as a character, and I find this to be nothing but stupid, trite anime writing at its finest. The story continues as you meet up with Aiko again, and she tells you that Tsukasa has broken expensive alcohol.
He seems real mad at anime.
He does.
But hey, this was also a problem in Persona 3 and 4.
Needs her to help him pay it off, and that unless Makoto helps her, she'll start working at the club to get the money. Aiko eventually storms off after Makoto repeatedly attempts to convince her that this is all nothing but a scam, but in the end, Makoto talks to you about how she understands that Aiko is rebelling against her family, even though that they have the money and could easily help her. I also find this part of the story incredibly difficult to believe, considering Aiko...
It's just it's bad because I don't like it.
I can't believe this.
I can't believe this, so clearly it bad.
Started the conversation by telling Makoto that she's the only friend she can trust. This might seem reasonable at first, considering every time you've hung out with Makoto, all she's ever done is talk about Aiko or spout exposition at you, but taking a closer look...
Why are you saying spout exposition? Like, expositing is a problem. Expositing is not an inherent problem. See, so much of the internet looks at these words, expositing, tropes, blah, 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 and go, this is tropey, negative,
Instantly
cliche, negative, exposition, negative. There's no problem with exposition.
We need to know these things. And we could flash back to her father getting hit by a truck, but I don't want that. I want her to explain how she deals with this, how she feels about it, how's it's been affecting her. I don't need the actual action itself.
Is talk about Aiko or spout exposition at you, but taking a closer look reveals how easily this falls apart. Both Aiko and Makoto are third years, and Makoto joins the party around June. It's more than likely going to take you several weeks of hanging out with her to get to this point because you have to raise so many stats, so it's reasonable to believe that most players won't get to this point till before September or so. That means both Aiko and Makoto have spent over 2.5 years in high school together, and they've only met each other and started talking to each other for a few weeks at most. Aiko is an...
We need to stop.
Yeah, the powers are probably gonna cut out.
Full disclosure, we're restarting this session because this was a couple days ago. There was a thunderstorm, and our power likes to go out when there's a thunderstorm. So we're literally in the middle of a discussion. I don't know what was said before, so I'm going to go back just a little bit. But I really do not even remember what we were talking about.
and they've only met each other and started talking to each other for a few weeks at most.
Okay.
Aiko is an outgoing and popular girl, so certainly she'd have to have other friends at school who she'd probably have grown quite close to over the years.
That means nothing. No,
Yeah.
You can be outgoing and just be very super duper lonely. A lot of people are more outgoing because they're so lonely. That literally means nothing. You should have more friends if you're outgoing. What type of shit is that?
Yeah, that's it could be one of those things where she has friends, yeah, but they don't share in their interests because they have that interest in that little panda bear thing. So that's an instant like boom connection sort of thing, and that could go deeper because she goes, "Oh, I have a history with that," and Aiko goes, "I also have a history with that." But if it's just her other friends are just like fashion, she can't speak with serious stuff like that.
Despite all of this, she comes to Makoto to help her, the person who she knows is openly dismissive of her relationship with Tsukasa and does not approve of it, and says that Makoto is the only person who can help her. Aiko starts the
Yeah, Makoto's like the student body council president.
She's very responsible.
And she's super responsible, whereas if she's an outgoing girl, it stands to reason that maybe her friends are also super outgoing and maybe not as responsible as Makoto.
Yeah, they'll probably just give responses like, "Hey, it's fine, everything's just fine, just go with it." And that's not really helpful.
by explaining that all of her other friends are busy studying for entrance exams in cram school as the reason why they can't help her. But
Yeah, no, that's dumb. No, that's dumb because Makoto would be doing the same.
that Makoto does the most and is one of her defining traits, so that would rule her out as well. In rank 9, you and
So,
Makoto
but
made
why did you put the traits all in quote like you're so dismissive of it? It's a trait. So who cares? Holy shit.
That's very odd.
managed to convince Aiko that Tsukasa doesn't care about her because he can't even remember her name. Makoto ends up slapping Aiko and she runs away crying. Then comes the insanely unsatisfying conclusion of this whole saga, where you go to sit with Makoto at Fortnite Burger and she tells you that Aiko dumped her boyfriend, quit her job, and started focusing on her studies. So after every single rank from 2 to 9 was all about Aiko, you don't even get to see her tell you that she's decided to change herself. Aiko has already satisfied her role of being saved by Makoto, allowing her to understand her dad's passion for the policeman's job, so she is now no longer relevant. Instead, we get a couple of lines of Makoto offhandedly assuring us that Aiko is a completely different person from what we've seen in her entire S-Link. Thanks, Makoto.
Yeah,
really
I can see that being
Then she switches gears to
problematic.
talking about herself, and that she's decided to focus on her studies, but for herself and not anyone else, since she wants to become the police commissioner and work on shadowy cases like her dad did. She also thanks you for helping her and finding her true purpose. The entire Confidant feels like a half-finished story. It's supposed to be about Makoto's growth and understanding of herself, but it's all centered around Aiko and her boyfriend, to the detriment of Makoto's own arc. Aiko's off-screen resolution is incredibly cheap, since we've been forced to care about her, and every single meeting with Makoto has been framed around finding, talking about, and helping Aiko.
Another hiccup, whatever.
But the game doesn't even care about her enough as her own character to have her talk about her decisions she's made herself. Instead, they use Makoto as a mouthpiece to relay information to you. The last time we see her, she's running away crying.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, that's the end of her character. Amazing.
Yeah, bad.
There's not even an attempt to show us that Aiko and Makoto bantering at the end. Something that would help solidify their friendship as a real thing instead of a fabricated idea to push Makoto's story forward. Since the game
Okay, why do you need them to have an actual dialogue to solidify them being real friends or whatever?
Yeah, we've seen enough of that. We saw her.
So you complain that there's too much of that story and then, oh, but there's not enough of the story to solidify it.
It's one of those, he wants both things, and when you want both things, you're gonna end up with neither.
constantly tells us that Makoto and Aiko are friends, but you never actually see them hanging out when it's not about her boyfriend. You honestly can't expect
Because that's the story of while you're there, you're not going to have them going to the amusement park and just like,
that's a waste of time. We need to see her having these problems and dealing with them.
to feel like these two people are friends to any capacity. Makoto's story has a lot of good ideas, but the execution is fumbled terribly and does no justice to the character who's supposed to be smart, strong, and filled with determination that goes on their own journey to find out what will make them truly happy instead of being a yes man for every other person in the world.
Pause. How did this story detract from that? It just reinforced it. She went out of her way to help a friend.
a girl that was not a friend to begin with.
Yeah. Someone that, outside appearances go, these two would not have any sort of relationship with each other. But she went out of her way day after day after day to try to help this student. That's a good thing.